Okay, first item on the agenda is the closed session portion of the meeting. May I have a mover and seconder to go into closed session under the authorities as printed in the agenda? Okay. Councillor Gladden and Smith. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, time being 7 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda. Oh, sorry. Council approved the closed session minutes of the July 17th meeting. We did not finish in camera, so we will be going back into closed session at the end of the meeting. Okay, time being 7 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the traditional territory acknowledgement, followed by a moment of silence. Council of the Township of Red Rock hereby acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of the Robinson Spirit Treaty and that the land we gather on is home to the Red Rock Indian Band, the Anishinaabeg and Métis people. Okay, administration advises that there is an addition to the agenda under the bylaw section of the meeting relating to a bylaw to authorize borrowing and pledging of security. Do any members of council wish to make additional amendments to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, can I have a mover and seconder for motion to approve the agenda as presented? Rosalie, your hand is up. Is there a reason? Oh. Okay, sorry. First and seconder? Sorry. Councillor Muir, Councillor Gladden. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Sorry, I was reading my paper wrong here. Are there any declarations of interest to disclose? Okay, seeing none. So we don't see Stefan yet.
So they were provided a link.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I can continue on with the meeting and then we can step in with the deputation, or it can be canceled and they'll have to come back at a different meeting.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Tedesco. I'm not sure what direction you'd want to go, or if you would want to speak to it, or we could have Rosalie summarize on her report. It may move that process along. We did speak and provide a link to Stefan today. So. Yeah, we could do that. Mayor.
Well, I think it would be beneficial anyways if Rosalie does speak to it, because it's quite detailed. And then maybe Stefan will step in, and then this is just discussion purposes, right? Because they are going to the Committee of Adjustment later in September, I believe.
Yeah, I think it would be beneficial to, I know Rosalie had her hand up, but certainly have Rosalie speak to it, to the report. That would be, I think, process. And if we can get a hold of Mr. Hussain, that would, we can pick it up then.
Okay, Rosalie, go ahead if you'd like.
So my hand was up just to say I had just sent Stefan an email to, you know, sort of where are you sort of thing. In case I just wondered if he had tried to join in when you guys were in closed session, because I had joined in earlier and then you had advised me to come back at 7, but maybe he tried to join when you were in closed and maybe there was some kind of a problem, maybe some kind of a hiccup. So anyway, I just shot him an email to say, where are you? I haven't heard back, but so be it the case. So what the report outlines is, so the Tedesco properties, and just so you know, I got a thunderstorm going here, and if my power goes out, you'll lose me, but the Tedesco property is kind of like a crescent moon shape, as you can see from one of the attachments to the report. And in a previous application to the committee, a little piece of the property was given to a neighboring residential lot, which has nothing to do with anything. It's just an aside. It evened out the lot line, and it was perfectly normal, and it doesn't implicate anything from what the future plans are for the land. And then the other portion of the previous application was the severing out of a sort of a lot in, it's not in the middle, like from a geometric point of view, but they took a lot out of the central part of the crescent moon. So now there's 3 lots, and all those 3 lots are industrial lots. One of them is currently being used as outdoor storage, and it's the one that's closest to Highway 628. And so now there's a new lot beside that one that has been created from the previous severance, and then the balance of the land holdings carry on from there. What they have advised us is that they want to create 2 more industrial lots, and that means there will be property left over that remains industrial. So it's really like 3 lots in total, and 4 residential lots. So that's a lot of severances. The normal for severance, for development by severance, is that you only have a few lots, you know, maximum 3 or 4. This has now created, first they split one joint crescent into 3 pieces. Now they want to divide 2 more pieces off of that, plus 4 residential lots. And the normal way to do that kind of development is by plan of subdivision rather than by severance. That having been said, your official plan allows council to approve the creation of more than the normal small amount of lots by severance rather than plan of subdivision, if it makes sense to council, if it's a reasonable development. So that's what we're looking at now. And I know Stefan has comments that he wants to make, but on behalf of the Tedesco family. But that's basically where we're at. We're looking at a pre-consultation to get an initial feel from council of what council wants to see in terms of development and the process for development. That's the important thing, the process. So there are some planning decisions that council makes, and there are some planning decisions that the Committee of Adjustment makes. So, and what needs to happen for this vision to occur for the Tedesco family is a mix of both. So the Committee of Adjustment would be dealing with lot creation, assuming that council would pass a resolution to say that they can have the additional lots. And then the council would be dealing with the rezoning application. So that right now, all of the Tedesco holdings are zoned industrial. They would, 4 of the lots they want to create, they want to have as residential property. So that would be a rezoning application, which would be a council decision. When somebody rezones from industrial to residential, that's from an industrial zone to a higher, like a more sensitive use zone. And the regulations under the Planning Act require that they would have to do a record of site condition. And I don't know that that's what is in the, you know, that's what the developer is contemplating or not, but that's one of the requirements they would have to do. It's expensive. Might be worth it, but that's up to the developer to determine. So there's a mix of, as I said, there's a mix of approvals here. There's some approvals by Committee of Adjustment, some approvals by council. And even if council passed a resolution to say that they are prepared to allow the developer to proceed by way of severance rather than plan of subdivision, it's still a Committee of Adjustment decision whether or not the severances to create these lots is approved. So when the developer first came forward to administration, they had this vision for 2 more industrial lots and 4 residential lots. And the 2 industrial lots are to be served in terms of road access by a private easement. So that easement exists now, not formally. I don't think there was ever a severance to create the easement, but Hydro has the right to pass through these lands to access the hydro corridor behind the lands. And what the applicant has proposed is that this would continue, that this easement over this private sort of road that isn't developed to a municipal standard, but is passable to vehicles, allowing Hydro to access its corridor. That this private road would become the access for the two new industrial lots, because they do not front on an open public road, municipal road. So as the report outlines, this is problematic to administration. So it's one thing to say that the current owner will agree to a maintenance program for this property, and they would agree that the private road be maintained to a certain extent. But if the property is sold and a future owner buys it, you're gonna, well, my personal experience in municipal government in 30 years is that when people's lands are serviced by private roads, there are typically problems, and they come to the council and they say, you guys should, assume this road and maintain it for us so that we can access our property. It's not fair. We pay our taxes and we can't get to our property because the road maintenance isn't good enough. So that's something that I've experienced, that you might experience in future, which is a concern that administration has and is set out in the report. That's not to say you can't do it if council is prepared to do it. But administration is recommending against it just because of that concern. The other option is to say to the developer, if you develop that road to a municipal standard, acceptable to us, you develop it, then we will accept it and we will maintain it, and it will henceforth be a public road. And then your property would front on public road allowance, and you would be able to build a building on your land and what have you. That having been said, many municipalities are not accepting any further road obligations just because they're taxed enough. And I don't mean taxed in the sense of assessment. I mean, your staff has enough to do with the roads they have to maintain now. So a lot of municipalities are not accepting new roads. That's not to say Red Rock can't. If you want to, you can tell the developer, build it up to a municipal standard and we'll accept it as a public road and we will henceforth maintain it. And then you can go ahead and have your development with, it will then have the appropriate access. So that's in a nutshell. And the developer is doing the right thing by coming to council early to say, this is our vision. This is what we want to see happen with these lands. And what do you think? Because if council would have to pass a resolution to allow the additional lot creation, and B, we have this private road access issue. What does council think about it? So from the developer's viewpoint, they're doing the right thing. They're coming to council early on before they spend the money to make all these applications that might not, come to fruition. And we have to get our ducks in a row in terms of which applications go to council, which applications go to committee of adjustment, and how they interact and intertwine to make sure that, assuming everybody wants this to go ahead, that it does so in an appropriate manner, in a manner that makes sense. So the developer's doing the right thing and coming forward and saying, council, what do you think? And that's what this report is. It's just basically to get initial feedback from council. Are you prepared to allow more lots? Are you prepared to allow us to develop on private roads? Or are you okay if we make a public road and you accept it? So those are basically the pre-consultation issues that the developer is bringing forward.
Hey, do any members of council have questions of Rosalie before I ask Tedesco's if they have any comments? Councillor Gladden.
I don't know if you know Rosalie, but do you know the intention of the new industrial lots, what they're going to be used for?
Well, we had raised the issue with the developer's planner about not being able to construct a building on a lot that didn't have access to a public road. So even if council was prepared to allow the industrial lots on private road access, they would never be able to get a building permit to construct a structure on there, to construct a building. And we were told in response that the intention was open outdoor storage, similar to the existing lot that's closest to Highway 628.
Councilor Muir.
So is there a development plan? Is there a sketch of houses and whatnot and the layout of what's looking to be built?
So all we know is what is shown in the schedules to the report. So they have 4 residential lots proposed, which I understand would be sold on the market. Once they had been rezoned, because right now they're zoned industrial, so there would have to be this record of site condition and all the other ducks in a row before they could apply for rezoning. But if they were rezoned residential, there would be 4 lots that are relatively large, you know, sort of estate type lots as opposed to small residential lots. That would be for to be available for sale to the public for residential development. And then there would be these other 2 lots that would be industrial, accessed by private road. And then, of course, once those 2 lots are carved out, there's still a remainder of the land that would also be an industrial lot.
So there'd be potentially 4 building lots up a private road in township lines. Is there water and sewer up there?
Sorry, to be clear, the 4 residential lots would be on a public road.
Okay.
And is water and sewer available on the public road?
It's
It
the
is,
two.
it is the industrial lots in behind that would not have, well, I mean, somebody could pay to have the services extended, but they would not be on a public road.
So there's a couple of concerns with the private access road, but also, you know, as much as we have the details or the pictures and of the land, it's really hard to see like where this is going to be or where the land wants to be severed and all of that. Like, is there a way that we can get it marked off? Right? Like you need to see it because it's really hard with these maps because you have everything, you know, everything under the sun on them. So it's hard to really picture or visualize the location of what they're trying to do. That's my concern right now. That's where I'm at. Councilor Muir.
So the residential lots, focus on that question right now. Is the intention to have 4 lots that are for sale? And if so, are those lots, is there a developer that's going to come in and build on those lots right away, those 4 houses and build those 4? Is that lined up?
So is that a question to me or is that a question? I can't see who's in the audience, so I think I heard someone address the Tedescos and I see that Tim Tedesco's online, but.
We're able to.
So Cam, if you'd like to come up.
Would you like me to answer that, Mr. Muir?
Yep.
As of right now, the intention is to hopefully create the 4 residential lots. There's not a developer or buyers per se at this point. The hope was to get the lots approved and set up, and then the potential sale of the lots would hopefully occur.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Gladden.
Just if the residential lots were approved and they were, you know, going down the road and they were developed and or established and there were buyers, is there going to be some sort of a condition that there would have to be a building put on them within a certain period of time?
That would probably be more in Stefan's expertise to answer. I'm assuming he's having issues getting hooked up with us here tonight. I honestly, I don't know. I would imagine that once the properties were sold, if they were approved, then that would be conditions that the new owners of those properties would have to arrange through council or the township.
Miss Evans, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've dealt with municipalities before who had similar concerns, and typically it's property that the municipality owns, that the municipality is selling, and then you can put some kind of condition on it because you're the vendor and you're selling it, and you can put some kind of development agreement in place where there's a requirement for them to build within a certain amount of time. But the municipality doesn't have the right per se to instruct an owner or developer that they have to do that. There might be an agreement between the owner and the municipality at some point that they would impose such a condition, but it's not something the municipality can enforce or impose. If you own the land, then it's different, but this is a private development.
Councilor Muir.
So what is the intention with the commercial lots? Is that for sale as well, or are those to be transformed into residential another time?
The commercial lots or the industrial lots, I guess, as they're zoned, there are interested parties wanting to purchase those lots. And my understanding is it's just for storage. There will be no buildings going up. That wouldn't be allowed anyways, as to my understanding. So yeah, just basically couple people interested in purchasing some property, use for storage, add to our tax base.
So can I ask that, that maybe that we bring this up at the next council meeting, and that the proposal from this pre-consultation, they provide better pictures and maybe stake out what the lots are, and Stefan can speak to it? Or is that putting a delay in the timeline with the committee of adjustment?
It's
They're
my
asking.
yeah, sorry.
No, it's just they're asking two things, right? So convert one, like to rezone it from industrial to low residential, and then secondly to 2 lots for minor variance.
Yeah,
So
but right now, there's no formal applications submitted. This
Okay.
is just a discussion. So there's no timeline in terms of committee of adjustment or council. It's just, this is the developer doing what they should do, coming forward and saying, this is what we want to do with our property. What does council think? Because there's so many approvals that are required and so many ducks in a row that they have to get in a row. And why spend the money to put forth these applications if council's going to say no at the get-go? So the developer's doing the right thing in coming forward at this point in time, but there isn't a timeline. So I don't think, and Mr. Tedesco, if you want to correct me, I don't think there's an issue with, you know, deferring this to the next council meeting. So specifically, so Stefan can speak to it with his input on behalf of the owners.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rosalie. Deferring it to the next meeting so that Stefan can give his input would be a great idea. Like I say, he's the expert as far as this is all concerned. We're just sort of going along for the ride with him.
And that would give an opportunity for better graphics as well, if you need a tidier picture or whatever. Previous
Yeah,
municipalities.
and if it can be possibly be staked out. So I mean, if we can go drive down the road and just visually see where it is, so it's making sense, because like I said, it's a little overwhelming when you're looking at the designs. If that's okay, if you can take that back to Stefan.
Yeah, Mayor Robinson, do you, by staked out, you don't mean like getting it surveyed at this point? Do you just mean just to like to show you?
Yeah, like just a sign saying, you know, this is where lot one could be, lot two. Or just pictures, like pictures can be sent to us where the proposed residential, you know, that severance is going to be.
Okay, and is it just the residential ones that you're concerned about at this point? Just as far, not concerned, but I mean, not able to visualize?
Yeah, actually, I think it's both because of the with the road, non-access road, like just to see where those lots are. That's all.
Just a clear picture so that you can, yeah, better understand. Okay.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
No, I'm sure that's possible to do.
Yeah, there's no point at this point in time to spend money on a survey. Like, that's just a waste of money if we're not going to go forward in the long term, and surveys are very expensive and surveyors are very busy. So like maybe a Google Earth picture with,
Yeah, with
where the
an
lot-
aerial shot, you can get that on Google Earth and then line it out.
Well, I also think it's going to help with the committee of adjustment when you bring it to them, if they can see where those locations are and, or whatever, the better visuals, that's all. Okay,
Mayor Robinson. So just through you, just for clarification, then I will contact Stefan and talk to him about deferring this to the next meeting along with I mean, a Google Earth kind of vision. And at this point, I mean, from an administration point, yeah, I agree. There's just not enough information there. And I mean, the recommendation right now to council is to get more information and not proceed at this time. Not saying that this is something that won't happen. It's just, I think it needs to be looked at closer. And I think like Rosalie has said, this is the right process. It puts it into place. It gets the conversation going. So I will reach out to Mr. Tedesco as well as Mr. Huzan and discuss a discussion for our next meeting.
okay, great. Thank you, Rosalie, and thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay, the minutes of the last regular meeting, July 17th, are items 5.1 of the agenda. Are there any errors or omissions to note in the minutes? Councillor Brand?
I think it's just a bit of a typo under 8.2, be it resolved that council authorize an agreement with plural, there's a period in there. I think that's, I'm not sure if that's supposed to be that way.
Okay, that's noted.
Thank you. Other than that, everything's good.
Sorry,
So-
that is correct. That's how that is. So that is the name of the company. So that period is correct.
Oh, that's a company name.
Yes.
PL
Correct.
period URAL.
Yes, the minutes are correct. They're-
Okay, all right, sorry, thank you.
Can I have a mover and seconder for motion to approve the minutes at items 5.1? Councillor Muir? Councillor Smith? All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, first matter, item 6.1, information purposes only relating to requests from other municipalities or organizations. Do any members of the council have any questions or wish to support any of the resolutions?
Those NOSDA resolutions, are we included in those? Just, are we part of that
NOSDA?
NOSDA? So do we automatically get included in these resolutions put forward? Like, is our voice already in here, or are they looking?
No, not really. So NOSDA is a separate arm's length organization. So we'd be supporting that
Okay.
through this. So, and I believe we pulled out, there was a lot of resolutions coming out of that annual general meeting. We pulled out a lot or some that we thought referred directly to us here in,
Yep.
in Red Rock and Northwestern Ontario. So no, we would have to support that through the Township of Red Rock. We
Gotcha.
not necessarily would be included in that as a township.
Okay, yeah, I'm in favor of all three, supporting all three. Is that one resolution or three? Four.
Is there a mover and seconder for motion to support the correspondence from NOMA regarding Northern Housing? Councillor Gladden,
I
Councillor
move.
Smith, all in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Sorry, my fault. Okay. Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion to support correspondence from NASDA regarding community paramedicine funding? Councillor Muir. Councillor Smith. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion to support the correspondence from NASDA for non-urgent care patient transfers? Councillor Muir. Councillor Gladden. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion to support the correspondence from NASDA regarding mental health and addiction treatment services? Councillor Smith. Councillor Muir. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, next item up. 6.2 donation purposes regarding donation to the Red Rock Indian Band 15th Annual Salmon Derby. Do any members of council have any remarks on this item? Councillor Smith?
What have we done in the past? Have we donated to this in the past? And if so, what is the normal amount that we have done?
So I know we have donated in the past and I've just given notice that it was 250 was a general donation, but again, that's at the direction of council, but we have donated in the past.
Councillor Brand?
So I know we've donated and we always want to support these types of events. But given our current situation where we're increasing water taxes and stuff, should council look at maybe altering our donations, or does this come out of a separate pot? I'm just not quite sure where this would come from, but I'm just wondering if we need to start being a little more cautious with our money.
Is
Or
that,
taxpayers' money.
that's a question that I can't answer. I mean, that's a question that I take direction on from council. So that, I mean,
I have no problem supporting this fish derby. If somebody wants to change the amount, I'm fine with that, but we have good relationship with Red Rock Indian Band and they do support the community and do a lot for us. So it's up to the rest of the council. Councillor Smith?
I also support it. For one, so far this year, we've been consistent in our donations. And I think if we were to change that policy, I think we should at least wait till the next fiscal year so that
Okay.
nobody's getting singled out. We're such a small donation.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to donate the 250 like we've done previously.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Muir? All in favor? That council approves a donation to the Red Rock Indian Band 15th Annual Salmon Derby in the amount of $250. All in favor? All hands rising. Motion's carried. Thank you. Next item, information purposes only relating to the township OMPF funding for 2023. Do any members of council have any remarks on this? Okay, seeing none. Information purposes only regarding a letter to Premier Ford on municipal business partnership on property tax reassessment. Do any members of council have any remarks on this? I believe we do plan on meeting with Impact down at AMO, so hopefully we'll find some kind of answers down there.
Yeah, correct. We did secure a meeting with the Minister of Finance as well, who is responsible for the release of the assessment updates for impact. So we'll be meeting with both the Minister of Finance as well as the as impact, and I can highlight that in my report later on.
Okay, item 7.1, minutes from the Committee of Adjustment meeting being held May 29th. Do members of council have any remarks or discussion on this item? Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion to receive the minutes? Councillor Muir, Councillor Brand, all in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, 7.2 are the minutes from the Committee of Adjustment meeting held on June 29th. Do members of council have any remarks or discussion of this item? Okay, seeing none, is there a mover and seconder for motion to receive the minutes? Councillor Smith, Councillor Gladden, all in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, item 8.1 is a report from the Director of Operations. Welcome, Blair. Okay, do any members of council have questions on Mr. Westerman's report? Councillor Brand?
Just a question on the water distribution, where you've got the temporary service to the scale shack at the mill. Is this like metered water? Are they paying for this water?
Yes, once it's established, we are putting a water meter on this line.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Muir?
Hey, Blair, just a couple of quick things. How many, so good work at the Folk Fest Day, very busy. How many extra hours do our staff put in down there? Were they very busy this year?
Well, we didn't have very many workers this year, actually, for setup week. We had a couple guys on holidays and we just have the one summer student.
It was just a summer student?
Well, we just have the one.
Oh,
summer
yeah,
student.
that's right.
So I don't know. I could get a more detailed answer for you if I look
No,
at the
just
time sheets.
No, I'm just wondering, like, was it
It's
busier?
basically the entire week off and on throughout
Yeah.
the days leading to
Yeah.
the startup on Friday.
Yeah, because when I was down at the festival, I noticed it, wasn't as busy as normal. And I know every year we try to encourage people to go. I just wasn't sure. My question was kind of more regarding, like, did people get a chance to get there? Were everyone swamped working, or did anyone get a chance to enjoy it?
I can't tell. I don't know.
You didn't go? I didn't see you there.
Maybe I can speak to that. We do offer, we do get complimentary passes, so that we do offer through to our staff. And we did meet and have a meeting with Live from the Rock prior. Something very well received from Live from the Rock, because they commented numerous times that something like that has never happened in the past. So we did have a pre-meeting with them, and we're going to follow up with a post-meeting with them. but due to some staffing issues, we did readjust and we started about a half a week earlier as well when we had more staff. So we did make that change. So the amount of time that our staff puts in is a lot, but they did a really good job. And Live from the Rock, again, we'll do a follow-up in 2 weeks, but by all indications, we're very, very happy and thank me numerous times for the help they get from the Township of Red Rock.
Yeah, because you know, there was years gone by where you saw everybody in town at that festival. And that's, again, seemed a little quieter this year. And I'm hoping that, you know, that picks up. Second question I had was, it's good to see the slips and the boat rental are going there. How difficult would it be for us on that side of the road to start clearing this bush and start putting in trailer slips? Because right now, if the slips are going, I just got back from Duluth the other day and they've got trailers everywhere, parked in every nook and cranny. And I just thought that is fantastic information. People are coming here, the slips are available. We've got slips going out. We need to start putting trailers on that property. So get some chainsaws. Is there anything in that bush line over there that's infrastructure wise that would be in the way?
I don't think so. I mean, we've started doing that a little bit last summer with the road material that was removed from the Brompton Street project. We had it hauled there and spread. You know, there was a handful of trailers, I think, over there for the focus.
Yeah, it looked good this weekend, all packed. It did. It looks good when it's like that.
Yeah, it would. It's an ideal spot to, you know, maybe put 10 to half a dozen lots, but you know, it'd still take some minor investment.
Yeah, absolutely right. All right, thanks, eh?
All right.
Any other comments on Blair's report? Okay, seeing none, is there a mover and seconder for motion to receive the report? Councillor Gladden. Councillor Brand. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Thanks, Blair.
Thanks, Blair.
Okay, next item report is the report from the fire department. Do any members of council have questions of the CO on the report?
Yeah, I can start just briefly by saying that the fire chief did intend on being here tonight, but he's attending a debriefing in Nipigon with his crew there related to a serious occurrence that happened within the township of Nipigon. So I can field any questions that may come out and of his report and provide answers at a later time.
Councillor Brand.
I'm not sure if these are included in his report, but there had been a recent fire in the community. I'm just wondering, when those types of fires happen, does the fire marshal come down? That's my first question. And then there was also a little grass fire on the Buchanan Road. Does the fire department, like I know the fire department attended, do they then notify CN of that? That's it. Those are my two questions.
So this report is from April 1st to July 31st. So that's what this covers. I forget the dates of those other fires, but
Okay.
when it comes to bushfires and things that are by the train tracks, I know the ministry, the MNR is notified right away, and the rail line is, and they are all in communication. I do know.
Okay, thanks.
Past experience.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I guess I could take a stab at the questions, but I'll certainly defer those and speak to the fire chief. My first thought on the fire marshal would that they would not come down to every house fire. That would be something that was determined. I would think by the chief at that point, and I could be wrong. So I think I'll defer those questions to the chief and get back to you. But what I did hear is, the first question was, does a fire marshal attend all fires following a fire? And number two was, do we notify CN of a grass fire? Was that?
Well, not all fires, but we recently had, it was more of, it wasn't a house fire, but on Steel Street, there had been a fire. And I just wondered if when it's that type of, like a garage or that type of thing, if they come, that's all. Not
Well,
every time, but.
Yeah, my personal opinion on that is I think if the OPP deem it to be suspicious, then they will bring, then the fire marshal will come down.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on that report? Is there a mover and seconder for motion to receive the report? Councillor Gladden. Councillor Brand. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, next item, report from the Community Development Officer. Welcome, Ashley. So do any members of council have any questions on her report?
I do. But I would just like to commend Ashley for all her hard work for the Paya Mountain Run. It was a really great success and there was nothing but positive comments. Thank you.
Councillor Muir?
Just my daughter made one of the runners stop. So I apologize for that. Just so maybe I'll leave her at home next time. Just I don't know. But just a question with regard to like the recommendation. I'm wondering if we could see a summary of bids. I know that's more likely confidential, but if for any of the bids, I'm just nosy. I like to see everything.
So with this bidding process, it is essentially a public bid. So all of that we get from the bidders is the amount that is they are offering to do the work for. So essentially the way the tender document worked was each roof was identified as a separate item and the bidders had to indicate a price for each particular roof. So the initial tender was for roof 1, which is the Brompton Road entrance, roofs 2 and roof 6, which are the back section of the recreation center. With 4 bids were received in conversations with 2 of the bidders, they severely overbid because they don't have the time to do it this season to meet our deadlines. The lowest bid, there was an error in their bid. And so Northern Sheet Metal and Contracting Limited was the lowest bidder.
Councillor Smith?
When there's an error in the bid, do you give them the opportunity to correct the error or is it too bad so sad?
Because that error was done after, so if they submit the bid, they can adjust it until the final tender deadline. Because they did not adjust their bid before the tender submission deadline, it's considered a gross error and they cannot adjust it. So therefore it's considered a void bid, not able to accept it. Sometimes, I don't know if that was the case with this particular one, they will do that on purpose to void their bid. They will submit it, but then void it. Similarly to the other ones, severely inflating their prices because they can't handle it this season. Sometimes that does happen.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Smith?
Regarding the community interpretation plan, are you getting much feedback? Have you seen, like, I'm not asking what the comments are or anything, but I'm just curious if there is,
We just launched that on Thursday in time for the folk festival. That is done through our third party. So we have not received, I've been off on Monday and Tuesday. I took some time off after the Paiu. So I don't know what our numbers are at this point. It is hard copy at the library, here at the Interpretive Center and at the municipal office. And then there's couple postcards here as well as on the website, and some more postcards and posters will be going around town. We do have until September 18th to complete those surveys, either online or in person. So there's a little bit of time left for those.
That's great. Any other questions? Seeing none. Thank you again for all the work you did with the PIU.
I would like to add the memorial banner program. We are moving ahead with that. I do have all of the information, the registration information from the memorial banner program people. So if anyone is interested in getting a memorial banner for within the community, you can definitely reach out to me and I can coordinate that with you. We will be putting out a poster next week once I'm back in the office again to get that promotion up and running so we have them in time.
Great, thank you. So when we start telling people, they can notify you, right?
Yeah, contact me directly,
Okay,
email, phone at the office,
okay,
and
Sounds
we
great.
can get that going for them.
okay, sounds great. Okay, so once again, thank you for all the work that you did at the PIU. That was a lot. We had a lot of fun. We're going to continue volunteering every year. And I'm glad I didn't have to speak too much. That was great. Thank you. Okay, so is there a mover and seconder for motion to enter into an agreement with Northern Sheet Metal and Contracting Limited for the roofing upgrades on roof number 1 in the amount of 60,800 and roof number 2 in the amount of 84,300 for the total project amount of 145,000 plus HST. Councillor Muir. Councillor Gladden. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Thank you. Is there a mover and seconder for a motion to receive the report? Councillor Smith, Councillor Gladden, all in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, item 8.4 is report on administrative activities. Are there any questions or comments on the report before Mark gives a verbal? Okay. Okay, go right to you, Mark, I guess, verbal update.
Okay, if there's, no questions on the report, I mean, it was a busy time. They were reporting for a month, basically. So you see a lot of things that go through on a day-to-day basis in the office, but there's no questions on that. We'll go to direction, discussion and updates, just with a small update on the EMS consolidation sites. I was able to, so again, the direction was to provide sites. We're in the process of doing that. We're working closely with EMS for the Township of Red Rock. The one site that we did want to collectively look at as a region was the old MTO scale site. So I met with MTO on it at least 2, maybe 3 times. What I did find with that site is, so there's a couple reasons that site will not work or MTO will not release that site. Again, with the division of the highway, there's also easements and or right of ways that come with that process. So what happens to that old existing piece of property in its entirety is now really shrunk down. So there's a couple of factors there now that piece of property would be significantly narrow and too small to build a building. And number 2, the other factor that plays into why they would not sell it to recommend is access back onto 1117 from that point, and just the amount of visible sight lines that you need for access back onto that highway. So that piece of property tentatively is a piece that wouldn't work. So we're looking at multiple other options within Red Rock as well as on 17. MTO was very forgiving and providing other pieces of property that they do own in that vicinity within the township, as well as other sites there that may not be owned by MTO, but maybe privately owned. So again, this process is one that is going to, I believe, take a long time, but we're meeting with EMS on that and ready to provide them locations. We'll also meet and discuss that at in London later this week as well. But the one piece that we were looking at collectively together doesn't seem to be a piece that would be let go by MTO and or be big enough to suit a facility of that site. So that's that. Councillor Muir, last meeting, you had requested that I reach back out to EMS to see if they would come to one of our council meetings. The general response I got from them was collectively they had committed to meeting us as a region, but they wouldn't be opposed to coming into Red Rock. But what they would like to know based on that is what exactly we were looking to discuss that wouldn't put them in a conflict, let's say. So would they come? Yes. Would they discuss sites in Red Rock or EMS sites based on just Red Rock? I don't know. That's, I assume, what they're talking about, where they would like to avoid a conflict, or they would have to avoid a conflict. But the main question they wanted was basically what are the particulars in the process they would like to discuss?
Do they want a list of questions before they come?
Yeah, I think they're very cautious as to why they would come. So, I mean, I think we could invite Chief Muir to a Red Rock Council meeting. I don't know what he would answer based on conflict, based on the site process, but if I had some particulars as to what we actually wanted him for or to attend for, I guess I could run that by him. He didn't say hard no, he wouldn't come. Of course he would come, but he wouldn't be able to speak to anything that was in conflict between the two communities.
And that's fair. And I'd hate to put someone on the spot like that, but I mean, there's questions that, the paramedicine question, because that was a big selling point that was the big selling point at the conference, is that, hey, don't worry, because, paramedics, they'll be good because there's going to be people doing paramedicine. They'll do the transportation. People will show up to people's houses and make sure they're okay. So you'll have less calls. Just I want to see how far along that plan is. There's a question of, again, that one day when their paramedics were out past Thunder Bay, there was nobody in the area. I mean, like, is this still happening? Because, we can always find out, right? So, I mean, I guess that we could come up with some questions like that and send them, but definitely, I personally want to know where everything's at, like, because I don't know, I've seen, I don't know if I've really heard of anybody going door to door yet, checking on people to see if they're okay to prevention part. So anybody else, has anyone else seen that? That was months ago.
So yeah, I could reach back out to him and say we were looking for more of a process and an update on process within our community, as opposed to, where they stood with consolidation. And but he did, I guess he did update us on that at the regional meeting in Nippigan, but I could certainly reach back out to him. Or if we had any additional thoughts on that, you can just send them to me, and we can I can certainly reach out to him if that's the will of asking him to come to a council meeting. That won't be a problem.
Everyone's up for it.
I think their strategic plan and deployment plan is probably the conversation is what you're looking for in the area.
And really, that's all I had based on, I mean, there will be some more coming up, maybe in discussion in a report that I'll bring forward on the AMO delegations. But if there's no more questions on that, then that's all I had from them.
Any other questions or comments on this report? Okay, seeing none, is there a mover and seconder to receive the report? Counselor Gladden. Counselor Brand. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried.
I apologize, Mayor Robinson. Through you, I did have one more, and it's here, and it refers to our meeting schedule coming up for September. And I wanted to bring this again, I apologize to bring this to council. So if you look at our meeting schedule in September, we are scheduled to meet on the 5th. So the 1st and 3rd, back to 1st and 3rd Mondays. So we'd have the 5th and the 18th. So we do have time to go through this if it was the will of council to amend the second meeting. What we have on the week of the 18th and the 21st is the deputy clerk and myself are both away for mandatory training for CEMC in the city of Thunder Bay. So we have both now taken our first IMS 100 course. We need 3 more in class 2-day or 3-day courses. So we were lucky, or we reached out to the CAMC and the Ontario representative, and we were able to get training for that in Red Rock, where we're going to train. We've got other members from the region coming as well. So we have that on the 20th and the 21st. So the Wednesday, Thursday, that is in Red Rock. On the 18th, 19th, and a conflict on the 20th because they overlap. Both the deputy clerk and I are at training for accreditation with AMCTO, which is the Association of Municipal Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario. So we're in Thunder Bay on the 18th, 19th, and then the 21st in Red Rock. So what we are suggesting is that the meeting on the 18th could hopefully be moved to midweek if that worked for everyone's schedule, either the 20th or the 21st. We will be in training, but in Red Rock. I guess alternatively, I could drive in that day for a meeting on the 18th if council wasn't willing to make that change. The other option that I could throw that I don't know if it's realistic or one that council wants to do, but if we wanted to consolidate one meeting into the middle of the month for September, I mean, I guess all those options are yours. We're looking for dates from council that may work to meet our schedule that week. That's both compliance courses that we need to be at.
Counselor Mayor.
Yeah, that week doesn't sound good for you, and I don't want to add pressure to you. Would the Monday, the 25th be something like the following week after?
Well, we looked at the 25th, but
Right.
what happens is because October stacks to the first Monday in October being the 2nd, it puts us right back to back. So it could be an option for sure, but I mean, that puts us in a bit of a back-to-back setting. So I mean,
like a Monday, the 11th, kind of like a giant meeting, or
well, like, yeah, or the 3rd, like that anytime in the week of the 11th where we had a large meeting if we wanted to go to one. But again, we brought it to you quite early because I mean, we still have a scheduled meeting on the 5th that will work, but realizing that this does happen. I mean, where mandatory training comes in, we're a small organization, and with the AM or especially with the CEMC training that we need prior to the end of the year, we're quite busy.
Counselor Brand.
Sorry, I didn't hear the first part of Mr. Figleman. Normally we would have our meeting on the 4th. We would be going to the 5th. Is that correct?
Well, the 4th is a holiday, right?
Yeah.
So that our procedural bylaw just generally moves that meeting to the next day. So the meeting is the 5th and the 18th.
So
And then
could we have just one big meeting on the 5th then, so that it accommodates those dates that you're away?
Yeah, I mean, we could do whatever works for council. I mean, I would suggest if we were going to do one, we might do it on the week of the 11th, though, just so that we're splitting the difference between the two. And we could easily be prepared for that.
So I'll just say right now that week, the 11th and 12th, I'm available. I'm not available the 13th. So I would be content with the 11th or 12th with one big meeting.
Okay, rest of council, how about September 11th?
And Mayor Robinson, I'm sorry to throw that one on you because usually I go through your schedule
Yep.
first, but it just came up. It just came kind of up today. So I hope that works your schedule as well.
That's okay. Councillor Muir can chair the meeting. Good. Can we move on now? We're good? Okay. So item 8.5 is a report on the sale of property. Do members of council have any questions of Mr. Figurini? Seeing none. Okay, is there a mover and seconder for a motion to approve the sale of 710 Highway 628 in the amount of 18,000? Councillor Muir. Councillor Brand, all in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, 8.6, report on the weight room facility relating to updated equipment. Everybody has the report. Do any members of council have any questions? Nope, seeing none. Is there a mover and seconder for a motion to authorize? the
Sorry,
purchase-
Mayor Robinson. My apologies. I didn't get my hand up. I was looking at my notes. Sorry.
Council Brand?
Are these a wish list or are these like in need?
So
Like,
the
do we-
weight room does have their own separate account, and this is
Okay.
what I believe is being requested from them to replace and addition to
Okay.
their.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would definitely call it a need, and it's as Mayor Robinson referred that there is a reserve fund for the weight room, but it does require approval of council to spend money from that fund. So.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion to authorize the purchase of updated weight room equipment in the amount of 1,520.71 cents plus HST and additional shipping costs to be taken out of the weight room savings account? Councillor Muir, Councillor Smith, all in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, next item, 8.7, information purposes only relating to the confirmed delegations for the 2023 AMO conference. Anyone have questions on who we're seeing, what we're talking about? Yes, for hopefully a strong push on the bridge number 1. Seeing none, okay. Next item 9.1 is the addition to the agenda relegated to the authorization of borrowing and pledging of securities. Members of council have any questions? Councillor Smith.
This is just, I think I may have seen it, heard it, or made it up, but this is already a bylaw and we're just kind of reaffirming it on a biannual basis or something? Or how's that work?
No, I can speak to that. This will be a new bylaw. So this is a new bylaw. This is a new line of credit established, approved by the Royal Bank for the municipality of Red Rock. So it's at a $2 million revolving line of credit that's at our access for use for basically how we need it, right? So this is something we've been working on for a long time to get this approval. Traditionally, for example, on our wastewater plant, when you talk about a $27 million plant, for example, and it's a claim-based process, I mean, at any given time, the municipality may have to front anywhere from $1 to sometimes $1.5 million. And that situation will be coming very shortly with our hold back on this project. So traditionally, we had a commercial line of credit established through Northern Credit Union. But due to some changes in their lending process and credit at that level, that line of credit was not renewed based on numerous factors. The municipality, from what I was told, a review of their lending process, not individual to Red Rock, but in general to their general commercial lending. So for lack of better words, the Township of Red Rock kind of outgrew the credit union's lending parameters and costs based on that. So, for example, they were putting restrictions on us for example, if we needed to pay $637,000 tomorrow in an invoice, we would have to have that pre-approved to use it. And the credit line that we had was only for that project. So if for example, the municipality wanted to make a decision to invest in an EMS station, for example, we had no ability to do that prior to this. So what we were able to do through a lot of hard work is secure what you're calling a revolving line of credit for the township. So anytime the Township of Red Rock is in a situation where we find ourselves needing that now, it's there and it's accessible for us to use. So this is a new bylaw. It's really good news because it'll allow us a lot less stress to be able to operate at certain times. So it's really a good news story for Red Rock right now, and as long as we've been working on it. Now, I mean, it's similar to a personal line of credit. If you don't need it, you don't use it. But when you need it, it's there. And there's been many a times over the last 2.5 years that I can speak of where we needed to be able to make large sums and really had to be pretty creative and strategic in finding a way to do it. So this is good news.
Any other questions or comments on that? Okay, seeing none, is there a mover and seconder for motion to pass the bylaw? Councillor Gladden, Councillor Muir, all in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay. Okay, so we have to go back into closed session or unfinished business. Is there any update? I guess that you want to speak to?
I guess, I mean, just the only update is, I mean, we're still looking into speed on the local roads. I mean, I'll be honest, it's something that we'll continue to work on. We'll discuss that on signage and the relocation of the weight room. I left it on there based on just the fact that I'd like to kind of say at this time that we can remove that. I don't think, not saying it's not a great idea, but as we spoke to with accessibility and just costing right now, I don't think it's the right time to make a decision. I'm not saying we're fully closing the door on future discussions, but from an administrative point right now, and mostly due to accessibility, I think we would just publicly state that my direction to council would be that we just put this project off at this time.
Councillor Smith,
I have two things. I'm fine with that as long as we're gonna at least leave the porta potties for them to utilize for the washroom. In regards to the speed on White Boulevard, I actually got to watch a car pass another person on another car on White Boulevard today, so I do think we really need something there. Yeah, there was no reason to pass, but that's excessive.
Yeah, so again, we'll look at that. I'll discuss that further with the Director of Operations tomorrow with a plan. And as for the weight room, yes, we can leave the portable facility there for obviously weather permitting, but I do think there's another option that we may be able to look at. Other than the initial option I talked about, which was another accessibility option, but maybe there is a system where we can invest a bit of money into a security system or something where we can kind of contain that area to include the bathrooms at the front. So we'll commit to looking at that, and we'll continue to work with the members to add to their equipment and try to make the local or the existing facility the best it can be for now. And hopefully we can continue those discussions in the future. If it is a better location, we can always look at that in the future, but now is not the time, I don't believe.
Councillor Brand,
Yeah, about the speed bump, the speed on White Boulevard. I know Councillor Smith had brought up about temporary speed bumps, and I didn't quite understand it, and he's explained it to me since. And I did have opportunity a few weeks back to be standing on his front porch having a conversation, and was surprised at how many people are speeding up there. And I certainly understand his concern with the number of children there. So is there an opportunity to maybe have speed bumps, the temporary speed bumps put in?
Again, I mean, I guess I apologize for letting this kind of slide a bit, but I mean, in our defense, we are tasked with many different duties. It's not an excuse, but we'll look at all options and we'll report back in the future if in the near future, if it is an option, we can look at that. I know we cannot change technically speed limits. They're governed by the province, but certainly warning signs, and if it is speed bumps, we can look at that, and we'll discuss that shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Smith,
Not to drag this on forever, but yeah, so with regards to speed humps, when I was living in PEI on the road I lived on, that's what they did. They came out during the summer months. They put these temporary ones that just slow traffic down. And then when it came to where it's going to start to snow, they just came right back up. They're pretty straightforward. But yeah.
yeah, thanks. Yep. Okay, moving on. We have to go back into closed session. So can I have a mover and seconder for motion to go back into closed session? Councillor Muir, Councillor Gladden. All in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, rising from closed session, council discuss personal matters, acquisition, disposition of lands and matters under solicitor client privilege in closed session. Okay. I messed up on my papers. Here, sorry. Okay, next item is the bylaw to confirm proceedings of council. Can I have a mover and seconder for motion to pass the bylaw? Councillor Smith, Councillor Muir, all in favor? All hands rising, motion carried. Just a reminder that the next meeting will be on September 11th due to training and staff resources. Time being 9:05, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Good night.